Welcome to Off Track, the motorcycle racing podcast, brought to you in proud partnership with J&S Accessories and B-Moto Motorcycle Insurance.
Welcome to JR Performance. Welcome, Joe Richardson, Joe Talbot. Boys, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Dave.
How are we?
Thanks for having us.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, other than having a bike upside down today, Dave. But yeah.
Whose fault was that, Joe?
Pilot error just by young Talbot. Just trying a little bit too hard too soon, and there she went.
And that was it. But to be fair, for the season so far, boy done good so far.
Yeah, joking apart, he's done really, really well so far. Obviously, we've moved to the Honda this year. It's been a massive step forward for us. Not just for Joe, but for the team. The Honda's a great bike. Obviously, it's put us where we want to be, and we're obviously running in the top six so far this year in the first two rounds. We've qualified sixth today, which is fantastic. Obviously, after having a crash on lap 2, who knows where that might have put us if that hadn't happened. It's going really, really good, mate. I'm really enjoying it.
Joe, the switch from the Kawasaki to the Honda, how's it been for you, the first start of the season?
Yeah, as soon as I got on the bike out in Spain, I knew I've made the right decision. The bike's lovely to ride, makes your life easier, and the main thing I took away from the start of the off-season was it's allowing me to work on my riding. Instead of having problems, I can work on my riding and try and improve the lap. And then we come here for Silverstone, the first round of the BSB, and I was up there, and I'm just been up there for the last couple of rounds now, and I'm excited to keep on going. I had a first crash on the Honda today, and damaged the bike a little bit. However, luckily we put one lap in, and then that got us P6. So I'm happy to start on the front two rows, which I'm always looking to do every round. So I'm happy at the minute, and as long as we don't have a tip off tomorrow, we'll be all good.
One thing that I really enjoy in this season, because you've been on the podcast before, we've been friends for a while, it's nice to follow the progress and the difficulties. When we sat here with yourself and Liam Dells, we sat up in the truck, it must be 2 seasons ago now, so we didn't get a chance to do it last year because I was busy. So it was almost exactly 2 seasons ago.
21, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both on 600s, weren't it?
That's it. So, yeah, you'd not taken a step to the 1000cc side of things. You were battling for the Stock 6 Championship with Jack Nixon, and watching the progression now after last season on the Kawasaki, it's a massive step, and one that's not to be underestimated, going from a Stock 6 to a Stock 1000.
No, we
You mind? We're talking.
Amazing. Last year was
him revving his engine. Yeah, we'll bring him in.
Last year was a little bit of a struggle for us on the ZX10, and the jump was big, but plus the bike, we struggled a little bit, and it was a hard year for us. But another year's knowledge underneath our belt, and on a good bike, and the whole package, I think it's just working this year.
From your side, from the gaffer's side, mate, switching from the Kawasaki to the Honda? In fact, before you answer that, sorry, let's bring him in. He's here.
Harrison, come on, mate. Gonna put you in the limelight.
Same as the boys. Sit yourself on the end there, Harrison.
Put your mic up and give it some That's
it.
Is that good? Yeah.
That's it. Well, you need to realise now, because you're late, there is now a forfeit that you have to sing your favourite song.
Oh, no. Why don't you choose which song?
Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Crosby, welcome along, mate. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. We'll just finish the conversation that we started with Joe, and then we'll come to you in your season shortly. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Glad you can make it along, mate. Thank you. Sorry, mate. The switch from Kawasaki to Honda. Talk us through that thought process from the gaffer's side of things.
Obviously, the end last year was we did a really good job last year with the package and the tools that we had. Obviously, it's such a shame because the relationship was there with Kawasaki, and everything, and it was really, really nice. So it wasn't the best thing and the nicest thing for me to have to do. But obviously, in the racing world, you have to move along with times, and if you can't beat them, unfortunately, you have to join them. The Honda's a great bike, so hence the reason why, obviously talking with Joe and Andy, Joe's dad, between us all, we thought that's the way forward, and that's what we've got to do. But making the switch, it's been fantastic. So far so good. And like I say, I can't praise the Honda anymore. Really, it's doing everything that we want it to do.
Is being on a level playing field the way it is. You see Billy McConnell's on the Honda and Franco Bourne's on the Honda, Linney. You've got a great mix of youth and experience in that top six that's going to help Joe even more by when he's working in with them, following them, racing with them. For me, it's going to bring on his talent even more.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, Joe and Franco, they're both they're young lads at the end of the day. They're both sort of 18, 19 years old. When you've got, obviously Billy and Linney and people like that.
Who aren't?
They're getting on for 40, aren't they, at the end of the day?
Not like us, kid.
They're knocking on, Dave, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, mate. It's not like boys. Us in the mid-30s.
Yeah, we're in a prime, Dave. No, but yeah, for them lads, they've just got to, and I think they them boys, they look at these lads and they think, they're the up and coming, and so I think they do sort of take their hats off to them for them doing what they're doing, so which is nice. You see like Linney in the garage, I think it was when Franco won at Silverstone, and he was congratulating him, saying how well he done and all the rest of it, and it's lovely to see, isn't it?
It is,
and that's what brings these lads along as well. I think
they're the future of the sport, aren't they? We've seen it where the Linney was the new up-and-comer. We've been around that long that we've seen Linney come in, and now Linney's at the other end. The old conveyor belt keeps going, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then these are the boys behind it, and this is over the next 3, 4, 5 years, you look at what Charlie's done. Charlie Nesbitt gone into superbikes, JJ's gone into superbikes, and there's that role of talent. Joe's fully encompassed in that talented role.
Yeah, no, definitely, Dave, you're right. And it's nice to see, hopefully, obviously bringing Harrison into the conversation. Yep. Harrison, he's 17 years old. He's, he finished third in the BTC thing last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
And, it's bringing these young lads on to get them to where, like, Joe is now, and then get Joe moving on to the likes of where the Superbike boys are and stuff like that. You've got to keep the progress going if you can. That's the best thing to do.
And I think, Ian, that's something that I take my hat off to you for, because it's easy to go looking forward and go, I want to be a superbike, I want to do this, and keep pushing forward. But without teams and team bosses as yourself, there aren't the rides for these young lads to show their talent. So this is why the support class side of things for the podcast is really important, because it showcases you as a team, as we did a couple of years ago, and the riders as well that you have.
Yeah, no, sure, yeah. I would love to go to Superbike, don't get me wrong, and so I'm sure Joe would, and so would Harrison one day when he gets there, But there's so much stuff that has to be in place to make that happen, and budget is a massive one to start with.
Of course it is.
And if you haven't got the budget there to do it right in the first place, there's no point even entertaining it, because it ain't going to go in your favour. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll keep, that's the goal. So, but we'll keep doing what we're doing, and if we can push that way and talk to some people nicely, and you never know what might happen.
You don't know what's around the corner, mate. Who'd have known you'd been running your own team at one point?
No, that's right.
We've seen you spanner in for superbike teams across the years, and then all of a sudden you
trying.
You didn't do a bad job, did you? Really?
Yeah. Well,
you got about a bit in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, I got about a bit. Yeah, they just shipped me on from one to the other. That's what happened.
But here you are with your own team. So we brought Harrison into it. Welcome along, mate. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Tell us your backgrounds, and maybe a lot of the viewers and the listeners maybe aren't aware, they don't follow the support classes or aware of what you've been and done. Joe's been on before, so we've been championing Joe for a while. So tell us your background.
Well, I started off in Fab Racing, which is grassroots, really, mini bikes. I made my way through that. But I started what's considered late, I guess. I know Joe started a lot later than what's normal, but I started what is also seen as quite late, and I started on mini bikes and kind of had to make a jump up to quicker bikes and bigger bikes quickly, as I was getting too big for the littler bike. So I made my way through Fab Racing, and then in 2020 I did my first year in the Talent Cup, and I was there for 3 years, and each year I bettered my championship result, so it was obvious to see the progress. And then in
last year in 2022, I finished third. So at that point, you kind of have to make the move up. So, yeah.
So how did the relationship start with yourself and Joe to come into JR Performance?
Well, we for this year, we definitely knew we wanted to be in the Stock 600 class. And we did a wild card at the end of last season with another team, and it looked pretty set that we were going to be riding for them. But then a few things fell through, and we actually bought one of Joe's old bikes because we felt it would be better to have a Kawasaki to practice on because we had a Yamaha before, and it all got it was quite late in the winter, and me and my dad didn't know what we were going to do for a ride after the old team said, we can't afford to do this season, and I just pointed at the bike that we bought off Joe, which was still all in the livery, and I said, why don't we just ask? And that's where it went, really. And we had our first test at Silverstone, and it went really well, and it just went from there, really.
Is that right?
Yeah,
would you agree with that?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, no, I think I was sort of like working away in my workshop, and the next minute my phone pinged up, and it was like, John Crosby, okay. What's he want? So I read this message, basically, is there any rides available? And so I just said to John, look, give me a call, and he phoned me, and we spoke, and I said, at the time, obviously, I was already committed to running a 2-rider team in Stock 1000, which obviously sort of didn't go the way we wanted it to go, and Harrison was going to basically work sort of out of his own awning, but just with some of my help, and we set up in bits and pieces to get him where he needs to go, and then obviously when the rider thing sort of fell through with the second rider, it was then an option for Harrison to come under the awning and get some full special treatment. And I think it's helping you out.
Yeah, definitely.
Massively, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's coming on heaps and bounds. It's really good.
How much pride does it give you to see rider development? I mean, what's this season now? This 3, 4 with Joe? 20. 3
years with Joe. This is our 4th year.
4th year.
Yeah.
4th year. So to see Joe's progress now, and then to bring Harrison in to follow a very similar path. What have you seen in him so far that's kind of made you realise it's the right decision?
It's really good. Fly by.
Donington.
Did he request that name?
Yes, mate. Red Arrows.
Oh, perfect.
Smoke will be down in a minute. Anything for you, mate.
Obviously, Harrison, he's 17 years old, and what he did last year with the wildcard situation, I had actually already put the feelers out to talk to, it was Danny Buchan, because obviously you're a part of the Pro 83,
the Pro 83 Academy,
and he actually mentioned it last year, so there was sort of, a tongue-in-cheek conversation about Harrison coming to ride for the team. And then when it sort of fell in place, I thought, okay, fantastic. That's what I want. I want, the young lads that, and he's so committed, just like what Joe is. He trains hard, he eats the right stuff, he's up early in the morning, he's helping unzip the awning, getting bikes out of the lorry, and then off around the track doing some cycling and stuff. They're both very similar. They're very dedicated to it, and they really, really want it. So it's nice to be a part of it and have them on board.
Is it also a little bit more beneficial to you when you bring in a rider in that's affiliated to the Pro 83 Academy with Gary Lee, with Danny Buchan, Zach Corduroy, Evan Pendrell? Have I missed one?
No, that's
and
it.
you?
Yeah.
That's not bad off the top of my head, is it? See, you need to know your stuff, don't you, doing this? You need to know your stuff. Does that help you, because he's got the backing of Danny and Gary Lee and the Academy, that that they put their trust in him as well, so that he's going to be working the right way off the bike as well?
Yeah. I mean, I don't look at it. I don't look at it that way.
Okay.
obviously I don't have any involvement really with the Pro 83 thing, so I don't know how the program works. I just obviously I know it's like a bit of an academy, and I know Zach comes around and spends a lot of time with Harrison, and you do the odd track walk and stuff, don't you? And he helps you a lot. Buchan sticks his head in now and again, all right boys, and as and when he can, when he's not busy. But so other than that, I don't really know. I don't really get too involved with the Pro 83 thing, but it's good for him.
Yes.
Obviously being a part of the
That's what I mean. It's a rider that's been noticed elsewhere, that's
right.
Under your wing. That's what I mean by that.
No, sure. Yeah, that's right.
With a transition, the British Superstock Championship are out on circuit now, so we'll work on the audio when I get home, so you'll be able to hear this eventually. When a rider makes that jump, and this is quite interesting to have the two boys here, because you've got one that's gone from the NSF 250 to a Stock 6, which is a massive jump, and probably arguably the biggest jump the rider ever makes in terms of horsepower and weight. And then moving on for Joe from the Stock 6 to the Stock 1000, which is different lines and a heavier bike. How do you help with that transition in terms of going from one to another? You weren't expecting these big questions, were you?
It's to be honest, Dave, it's I think they have to sort of commit a lot themselves. Obviously there's so much you can do as in my position. Obviously we can set the bikes up as to where they need to be. I'm not a rider coach, I don't claim to be a rider coach, but over the years of doing it, obviously you learn all these other little bits and pieces as you go along, working with the riders, so you sort of learn together. And if you can sort of both be switched on and, talk about something here and go to the following track and then sort of say, well, okay, remember we had this problem there, so why don't we try doing this and try and make that work here, and that sort of thing. But like these guys, Joe, you've done a lot of work with Gary Walton, haven't you? Not so fast, through his 600 career. And Gary's, he's really, really good. He's done a good job with Joe. Going to try and sort of get him involved with Harrison if we can, to sort of just touch him up in a few places. That's obviously going to help out. But it's what's been good is obviously it's been hard for Joe. It's been Harrison benefiting from it because obviously I've done 600s for 4 years, and there's so much between me and Joe. We can help him massively. Joe can help him as far as anything to do with track, and I can help him as far as anything to do with bike setup. So that works really well. But obviously the big bike for Joe, last year was a massive, learning curve for us both. Joe going from the 600 to the foul, it was a bit of an eye-opener at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But to be fair, he soon started to gel with the bike. I think once you get over that power factor, you can sort of, and everybody goes, oh no, you need to ride it like a foul, you don't need to ride it like a 600 and this, that and the other, and there's so many different opinions that fly around. But if you just crack on and just get on with what you've got to do and absorb it all yourself, and the best thing to do is find out for yourself as well, and just take them little bits of information from everybody and put all the pieces together and make a nice puzzle. But yeah, Joe, I would say not unlucky, but obviously we've worked really hard together and gone in the right, and we've gone forward all the time, which is that, and that's it's magic.
How's it been for you on the transition from the Stock 6? Because when we spoke last year on the Stock 6, how was the transition from the pilot seat?
Yeah, the transition was hard, especially the hard part was from going up at the front to then trying your hardest to get inside the points, especially last year. That was a big mental battle I had to go through because I was giving me all every round and I'd struggled to escape inside some points some rounds. So that was hard, but the main bits I'd take away is when you're out on the track and you're in your free practice sessions, getting behind like the faster boys last year really helped me out, where you'd see where you'd lose the time. When you come in, you're like, well, I'm doing that. But then that last little bit as they pick it up, you weren't doing. So then you'd go out behind them and you'd see where that tenth is, 2 tenths that you're looking for in that sector, where it's coming from. That helped me last year. And the step was big, but like Joe said, I soon got used to the power and the speed and how fast things come up to you. That wasn't a problem. It was more than the riding style that was holding me back. But then with a year's experience on 1,000 now on the Honda, then I feel like it's all clicking into play now, and we're just having a strong year because I've got a year's worth of experience underneath my belt.
What was the biggest thing you learnt about your riding in that time?
Definitely overtried a lot last year, and I still overtry now. But it's hard because you obviously have to try your best. But then if you overtry, when you're struggling, you go slower. And when you're trying to like battle like your Linfoots and Olsons who aren't moving off the bike, and Seeley who doesn't move off the bike, and then you see them and you're trying to try, you got your knee down and having a few erratic moments, you actually go backwards. So now you have to take like 1 step back to go 2 steps forwards in this class.
I like that, and it's interesting that because if the hard sometimes in motorcycle racing, you know this, and you know this as well. The harder you try, the slower you go.
Yeah.
You got to try and flow with it, and until while you're trying to learn a new motorcycle with new, slightly different lines to what you're used to on circuits that you know like the back of your hand, it's easier to force it than to relax into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Would you agree with that from your step 2 from Moto 3 or the Moto Star from British Talent Cup to the Stock 6?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when I first was in the first 3 practices and qualifying sessions at Silverstone, I felt like maybe I was overriding a little bit because maybe I expected a bit too much, and at that point I was like, I need to push harder, and actually it slowed me down a little bit where I needed to relax myself and just get into the groove and ride that way instead of overtrying.
What's been the most difficult thing you've come across in the transition from the little Honda to the junior Superstock? Keep calling it Stock 6. Not allowed to do that. Junior Superstock.
I think for me, I've not been the best at getting off the line and being really aggressive. I'm okay with my aggressive moves and but clean. But off the start, I've always struggled to be really quick. And in Stock 600, it's another level. They're all crazy. They go super aggressive, even more so than the Talent Cup. So I think after just a few races, I'm already starting to become more aggressive. At race 1 here, I was a lot more aggressive off the start, and I got a much better start. So I think that's one of the main things, just being really aggressive off the start and doing it more and more with them. It definitely brings you on.
You're in with a bunch of axe murderers as well that have moved up from junior Supersport, and they're I can see the look on Joe's face. You think the same as Addy. You're looking, you're like, oh, these.
That race?
No, I missed it. I was getting the kit out of the car. I saw a couple went down at Melbourne Loop, which was Jacob. Was it Jacob Hatch that went down?
He went down at Goddard's.
Was it Roche and
Connell and Dawson?
Was it Cam Dawson? Yeah.
I think it was Connell. Is it Connell?
Connell and Dawson, I think.
He took
and
Dawson,
then Jenna ran off at turn 1.
Yeah, straight through the gravel.
Yeah.
Ran out of talent.
Ran out of Roden. You said that, not me. But that's the thing when you see what's coming through, and I find that with the junior Supersport, they're a different breed to the Talent Cup lads that come through.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I think it's an age thing as well, isn't it, Dave? You know, you sort of you start to become that bit of a man, that young man, don't you, from a boy, if you like. You know, so then you start realising you got something about you, and then it's like, all right, pump the chest out a bit, let's have it. You know, and I think that's sort of where it starts. And then you go through that stage, and then you go to Stock Vow, and like Joe now, you start then maturing a little bit more, and start becoming a bit more sensible because you're with a lot more sensible people. It's madness, really. But
That's deep, mate. I like that. That's really well put. I like that because you see, it is that thing. It's almost like the school phase, isn't it? You come out of secondary school, then you go to college, and you think then you're starting again. But when you get the second year of college, yeah, been there, done that. we're the ones now. And then you go out into the real world, and all of a sudden you're a little fish in a really big pond, and it's keeping those levels going because you find that with racing. You were the top of Stock 6, you're at the top of British Talent Cup, but how difficult is it, and we'll start with you on this one, Harrison, how difficult is it to manage expectation from being on the podium and race wins, top fives, before you even turn a wheel?
They can't manage it, Dave.
Go on, Joe, you have this one.
No, I'll let Harrison take over.
How do you learn to manage expectation from that side of things?
It's very difficult because it can get in your head quite a lot. You're not where you think you should be or where you want to be, and you just start overthinking it. I think for me, I think there it is a bit different for everyone, but I think what works for me is just relaxing and being relaxed and cracking a few jokes before I put my helmet on and stuff like that. Keep me calm, and that's how I deal with it. Yeah.
Joe, and with you, you wear, I know full well, and you know you won't mind me saying, you wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And it's something to be commended because some people will bottle it up and hide it away. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and I love that. How did you manage expectation, making that step up from fighting for the championship right to the last round?
Yeah.
To then 20th, trying to break into the top 20, and even points is a win.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that in your life?
Like Joe said, I didn't handle it very well, and I got my.
You took up drinking, didn't you, at that point?
White Lightning. He's under Starkey's bridge with a brown paper bag and a bottle of White Lightning.
Yeah, no, it definitely got to me last year. I didn't fall out of love with any of it. I still love riding, but it definitely was like struggling, you know, and in a deep rut. But I always knew that I can do it. I just need something to click, and that's all it takes. Is something to click, and then you make that jump. And yeah, I struggled, and I had no expectations. I didn't know where I was going to be at this year. But then we went to Spain, and we did 4 days on the Honda, and I proper enjoyed it. And it brought back I'm not that bad. Like, there's something here that I can work with. And then I still had no expectations, and then we got to round 1, and I was like, I think I got a 6 and a 4th at Silverstone. I was like, yeah. Like, it's lit like a new, like, I can do this, and I'm ready to fight. Because last year I always believe in myself, but it gets hard when when you're battling for points. It's harder to think, I can win this. But especially this year, when I started off strong, I do believe that I'm going to be one of the front boys all year. And I'm going to try to be at least, and just give it a go. And now this year, my mentality is more, like Harrison said, relaxed, calmer. But last year, it wasn't as much.
Didn't somebody break the lap record at Silverstone in race 1?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Who was that?
Maybe me. Yeah. And then, I didn't expect that because I'm never normally got the pace, if I'm honest. I'm never normally like the 1 lap man. I'm quite consistent, but I never really have the pace. So when we finished that race, I was buzzing to be on pole in my first round. So I was loving it.
And that's showing. If everybody's on a Honda and you're the fastest Honda, you're going to be on the podium. If you're the fastest Honda this year, you're going to win the race. I think that's fair to say.
Fair.
And to see that at the first round, to get the new lap record and start on pole, and for your little team that you run,
it's brilliant.
Was really cool to see.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, no. And Joe's put a lot of effort in training hard over winter and stuff, and he just knew that got to get his head down, because that first race obviously makes that lap time count for the second race as to where you start. But yeah, it was. To be fair, we stood on pole position. It was like I had a Nike jumper on. I couldn't afford a team jumper, Dave. It was like stood there in my Nike jumper, thinking, "God, we look like a bunch of pikeys here." Sat on pole position. But no, it was good. And you had another good race, didn't you? Yeah, it was mega.
How difficult is it to run a support class team of this standard?
When you say difficult as in what?
Financially?
Financially,
because that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day.
When you take the step to Stock 1000, financially, it's absolutely massive. All these classes, you go, when you start off from the beginning, let's take Junior Super Sport for an example, it'll cost you X. To go to Junior Superstock 600, it'll double. To go to Superstock 1000, it'll double. And then obviously to take the leap from there to Superbike, to run a team in Superbike, you're probably more than double.
3 or 4 times nearly, to do it properly.
Yeah. You need $500,000 quid.
Basically,
to do it right. So yeah, as far as that financially it's really, really hard, and it's so hard for these lads because you want them to go out and be at the front, push and do as well as they can. And then at the same time, you don't really want them to obviously tip the thing upside down. And they don't want to do that, but at the same time, they want the results. So you've got to sort of just sit back, if it happens, it happens, and deal with it when it does. And just get cracked on. But, yeah.
Don't turn it into a sob story. It's an absolute fact of racing. How difficult was the start of this season?
This season's been very, very hard. It's like, for me, it sort of got to the point where I was like, wow, do I even bother, sort of thing. I had a really good sponsor, Cheshire Mouldings, last year. Obviously, they moved on to sponsor FSC Superbike team. They do something with KRT. John and Jackie, they're great people. But obviously, for them as a business, they need, their sponsorship is based on their business. So, they've got to get what they want out of it themselves. It wasn't the best of years for us last year as far as results go. And for any sponsor, at the end of the day, they want results. They want to see their name on the bike, at the front, on the podium, people taking pictures and all the rest of it. That's what they want. So to lose them at the end of last year, it was a bit of a kick in the
testimonials.
Yeah. And then obviously we moved on, and I'd obviously taken on a rider to do Superstock 1000, who came along with obviously like a big sponsor, which sort of didn't work out. And then obviously it wasn't going to happen with the sponsor side of things either, obviously because he was a good friend of his. So that didn't work out for one thing or another. Then I sort of thought, this is going to be hard work. I got a truck. I turned up at round 1 in a truck, which is where I'd pulled all the stickers off it, and it just ripped all the paint off it, left a massive mess of the truck. My awning, I'd had all the awning changed from, because it was green and orange last year, I had all the awning sheets changed, but then again, it's another like 3,000 quid you've got to find just to change the awning sheets on your awning, and then I've got a cracking uncle, Uncle Paul, he's fantastic, DLR Transport, he helps me out massively, if I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if we didn't have him on side, it's he's a massive help for me. But we're here to tell a story, Dave.
This is it, and that's why it's not turning it into a sob story, but in any way, shape or form. Motorcycle racing is expensive, and it's bloody difficult at times. We all love the sport, but in your position with the responsibility of putting this together and financing it, and the boys with their riding and sponsorship that comes in, and it's the same when you look across away at the GP2 at Nova. There's who's at the back, Ryan Garside's at the back here. There's Swanee a bit further up. everybody's in the same boat. It's not something just typical to you, but it's support class racing at BSB. It's an expensive business, and there's a lot of stress that comes with it.
Yeah, no, sure, mate. Yeah, definitely, and I think it's only getting harder as well at the moment. You know, like finding sponsors and good sponsors. You know, it's very, very difficult. But and I think some people want to be involved in the sport, but I think they sort of don't really know how to go about getting involved in it, sort of thing, because there's so many different levels you can get involved at. You know, it's not oh, I want to be involved in that, but they're going to want 20 grand off me to sponsor the team. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, there's so many different packages available that you can then obviously put together for people to make it work. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of little sponsors make up obviously one big one.
100%.
You know, which is helpful.
But you're finding that now, and you boys now, it's difficult for you boys as well to fund your riding. And I've never seen so many riders this season, right up to almost the start of the season, looking at crowdfunding services, because sponsors, the knock-on now from the difficult times of the last couple of years are starting to get the bit of a knock-on effect. And it's like, do you know what? I can't put that money into that, and I can't put. It doesn't matter how talented you boys are. We've seen it before that if the funds aren't there, there ain't no ride, because these things don't happen on their own. So I mean, it's difficult as a British Talent Cup bikes. They sound great, don't they? Just not on a podcast. And that's why I wanted to ask you about that, because everybody sees it. Everybody, you know, you get the fans come and walk around the support classes, but I don't think a lot of the fans understand just what goes into putting these teams out and getting these riders where they need to be.
No, that's right. And another way of looking at it as well is like these lads pay to be here. You know, they're paying their entries to be here, but yet they want to be Josh Brooks. They want to be Tommy Bridewell. You know, the lads that are getting paid. You know, and yeah, don't get me wrong. You know, them superbike teams, they put a lot of money into the job, but they don't pay to be here. Do you know what I mean? There's not an entry involved there. You know, these lads have to pay. You know, and I know it gets harder. You know, obviously, like little bits like the electricity going up. You know, it just tops up, and entry fees. You know, they've jumped up massively from. You know, in the last sort of 4 years, you know, that the entries are just keep creeping up. You know, an extra £200 a year, an extra £200 a year, and then before you know it, you know, it's like £5,000. You know, entry fees for like stock 1,000
for one season.
You know, for one season, yeah, just for your entry.
So that's not including tyres and fuel and setup and everything else. That's just for the ability to race.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, to turn up and enter basically, and then you've got everything else that goes with it. It's crazy, really. You know, if you actually sat back and worked it all out, you know, I don't know what would happen.
You actually just stopped and thought about it for a minute. You just, no, don't stop, don't think about it. Just keep pushing forward. Carry on regardless. For this season, what we're doing for time, we're doing grand for time. For this season, what in an ideal world, all things considered, first season for Harrison, what do you see would be a successful season?
This year for Harrison, the goal for me with him was always, you know, if we could rock up at every round and be in the top 15 and take points away from every race, that was my goal. Obviously, probably not his goal. This is being a rider. And
next question.
You know, he probably wanted to be a lot, you know, right up at the sharp end, as they all do. You know, it's understandable, but it's, you know, it's British racing at the end of the day. You're up against the best of the best, you know, and it's tough. And obviously, me being around it a long time, I understand it, but trying to get that across to obviously a 17-year-old kid who absolutely wants to go out and thrash his bike to pieces, you know, it's difficult. But he's doing a great job, and he's achieved, you know, he's achieved up and above from what I've sort of wanted from him. He's had a great race today, finished 7th. Which is obviously your best achievement so far, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if we can keep chipping away doing that, then great. Joe, for us with Joe, actually at the start of the year, we sort of set a goal that if we can run inside the top 10 all year, that'd be absolutely fantastic. We didn't set them high. We just sort of thought top 10. If we can come away with top 10, brilliant. Well, then let's see what happens. Same again. Obviously Joe's gone one and above again. And if we can carry on doing what we're doing now, it's going to be a mega season. It's going to, and it's really, really enjoyable at the moment. It sort of brought a bit more drive back into the camp, really. It's a tough year last year, and this year's everybody seems to be clicking and gelling and getting on really well. And the lads are obviously riding well in it, and it's a knock-on effect. You know what I mean? Like if there's a happy camp, then obviously the riders, happy riders, a fast rider, and all that. So yeah, keep going, Dave.
One thing I'll come to you boys just in a second. I haven't forgotten about you. There's one thing that I've seen on the bikes this year that makes me smile is my old employers. OMG Racing are on the bikes.
Yeah, OMG's on Joe's bike.
On Joe's bike,
yeah,
sorry,
on the air. Obviously, OMG Alan, he's one of Joe's personal sponsors, if you like. He helps Joe out, helps him out really, really good as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Massively. So, thank you to Alan for that. Obviously,
definitely.
without people like him in the sport, he's got a big enough job as it is down there doing what he's doing, and yet he can still obviously, commit to help, people like Joe out. So it's really, really grateful.
For you, Harrison, what were your expectations for this season?
I think after the wild card I did last year, I think maybe we slightly went above what I thought I could do, finishing inside the top 10 and in the points in the second race. So maybe this year my expectations were quite high, and in the first weekend not having met really where I wanted to be, it put me down a little bit. That I think in the last few, in the second round and here, I've made an even bigger step forward. It's put a bit more life back into me, and I'm really enjoying riding. So I think the expectation's still pretty high. I want to do well, I want to achieve, but I think you do kind of have to be a bit realistic and say it is my first year and this is where you are, and if you keep improving, that's the right direction.
I like that. And also with the results that you've had today and the start you've had to the season, normally in Stock 6, it takes a little bit longer to creep into the top 10, the top 5.
Yeah.
Normally you sort of beyond halfway through the season before something goes, got it. Absolutely. That's how it works. So to see that happening so soon must give you a real buzz for the season ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I think the race today obviously has been a huge step forward, and not even just the position. It was the fact I wasn't far off the top group, and I maybe could have even been with them in the race if I hadn't got involved in a fight at the start of the race. It just gives me even more confidence for the season, and I think if I keep working the way I am, it's only going to get better. So,
what clicked?
I'm not sure. It's a tough question. I think Alton Park, I had quite a good battle, and I was just off the edge of the top 10. And I think after that, it gave me a bit of confidence. I quite like Alton Park and Donington, so even riding them tracks, I enjoy it. So I think maybe just working my way forwards, just seem to keep doing it, and it just keeps. So I think that might have helped. I've bettered my result in every race, so it just seems to be going in that sort of direction.
I love this with riders, because you ask, it's whether it's a TT, whether it's club racing, whether it's support class racing, whether it's British Superbike. I go, how do you do what you do? And they go, I don't know, I just do it. No, really, because I can't do it. Tell me how you...
Yeah.
I don't know, I just like working with Kyle. Kyle, how do you do that? I don't know. And you two boys are the same. You don't really know how you're doing what you're doing, because you're not able to process it yet to understand just quite what's going on.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe? Your what would you say for this season will be when you get to Brands in October, when you look back and you go, yeah.
I come inside, like Joe said, I come inside for a top 10, but I'm at fourth in the championship in a minute. I'd like to start, like, do every race inside the top 5 if I'm being honest, but I'm also, if I'm being honest as well, I'd like to win. I'm not here to, like, become 5th, you know what I mean? I'm going to try every race to go on out and win it. I've not been on the podium yet this year, but so that's the next step. I want to be on the podium, and then if I'm on the podium, then it goes to a win. So if I'm being honest, I'd like to, don't know where I'd like to be in the championship, but I'm going to say I'd like to win it, but top 3 I'd be happy with at the end of the year, definitely.
Excellent. Harrison, as a rider, what motivates you?
Winning.
You go straight in there.
His dad.
Straight in. Okay.
Winning. I've always been pretty competitive, and I just want to be at the top of everything I do, and that motivates me. I want to be at the top. I want to win.
Joe?
What motivates me? Probably the same results.
As one of the most laid back lads that I know, we had a podcast yesterday with Joe Francis.
Yeah.
And you're very similar in like quite laid back, and it's like I said to Joe, what motivates you? He's like, don't I really?
Laying bricks.
Yeah, exactly that. When
He
you're
builds a good wall, you know, does Joe.
He
He builds a good wall.
Oh, he does, yeah. He's
fantastic wall.
You know, 1,000 bricks a day.
Yeah, he's a brilliant builder.
Get paid by 1,000 bricks.
Yeah.
You can do it that way. But no, it is usually the answer is winning and things, you know. And we got talking about manifesting yesterday as well. It went down a proper rabbit hole. It was brilliant. Have you done manifesting? The more you think about something and you make it, it's almost willing it to happen.
I do a lot of that with the lottery, to be fair.
It's just going to say it.
Every week thinking, yeah, it's going to happen.
What motivates you to do all this?
Results, you know, obviously results is a massive one, you know. If you keep getting results, it keeps you going. I'm not really sure what else, really, to be fair. You know, I just like helping, you know, these young lads, you know, that's their dream, and for them to sort of have somebody like, you know, maybe like myself to help them achieve their goal, then, you know, that's what sort of keeps me going. You know, it's nice. I think they appreciate what I do, you know, I appreciate what they do for me on track. And if you can build a nice relationship together, it works really well. So, yeah. Not really sure what else, Dave.
Sorry. Do you like this line of questioning now? You weren't expecting this, were you? We've gone through the easy bits about the team and the results and everything else. Here's one for you. Would you rather, if you've listened to the podcast, you know what's coming. If you haven't, I'm disappointed that you haven't been listening. Would you rather fight a chicken every time you got in your car or a monkey randomly once a week? Joe's looking at me like, what the hell?
How big's a monkey?
It'd be like chimpanzee size.
Oh, fuck.
Fire a chicken every time you get in your car.
Yeah. Or a monkey random, and the monkey you could be out with a missus, you could be out having a meal, you know, you'd be having your breakfast.
Take the chicken.
I'm
not taking a monkey.
Yeah, but have your eyes out, the chicken.
Nah, the monkeys strong, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd wrestle the monkey.
You go for the monkey.
Yeah, all day long.
I was thinking
Chicken's
the monkey
easy,
as
innit?
well.
You'd say the monkey as well?
I think so, yeah. I don't really get in a car, so
No, I grab the neck of the chicken and then rip
That's
it
the
off.
standard, yeah. Just neck the chicken and out the window.
Yeah.
But the monkeys, they're
easy,
crafty. You've watched Pink Panther movies, you know, like Kato jumping out of your wardrobe. Imagine a monkey coming at you from that.
Yeah, well,
surprise!
Good old wrestle with the monkey. It's good, isn't it?
There's even a metaphor. Is that a metaphor? The wrestling with a monkey. Before we round off the podcast, there's always one question that I ask everybody that comes on. Now, whether you might have one, I think you have, and I'm damn sure you have. What's your best hire car story?
Sorry?
What's your best hire car story?
Hire car story. Well, I mean, I don't drive myself, but I actually do have a really interesting one. So
Hey, here we go, Dave.
Everybody sits forward.
we went to
so just voice up the caveat. I want driving.
we went to Spain once, when I was on the mini bikes for a bit of pre-season testing, and it was at this track, and it had this like sort of to the side go-kart sort of track, but it was really dirty, had gravel on it, and for some reason I decided to start driving around it in the car with my brother who can drive. So we were going around, and then all the kids started watching, and funnily enough, Josh Watley came over, bullied his way into letting us having a go driving the car, and he ended up hitting a tyre wall and damaging the front of the car, and ripping the bumper off. So that's probably my best one.
Josh Watley.
Well, Watley, what a boy. He's never far away from a podcast, that lad, is he? Well done, Watley. What a boy.
Straight under the bus.
And how old was he at that point?
God, I don't know. You think he's the same age as me, so he must have been like 12, 13.
That's why I went down that road, because you're on mini bike, so you were young at the point.
Yeah.
Joe, high car story.
Obviously, just the messing about and racing around Cartagena as the usual. But I haven't really got a high car one. There's this like Honda Civic that was outside my drive. It was my dad's. I didn't nick it, but I nicked it off my dad. And then went up to my grandma's, and she got a bit of field and this like little motocross track at the back. So I was like, decided to go around there and start jumping this Honda Civic. So that's the best one. But
I like that
not
one.
really much higher car stories.
That's nice. You've had time to think about this now, big man.
Do you know what? I was only telling somebody the same story, the high car story. I've only got one good one, and that was with Gaz Johnson when we was in Almeria. And obviously, I told it when we was last on the podcast. But
You can tell it again, because we've got new listeners and new viewers since then.
we was no limits track day down at Almeria. We're in the hotel, and then all of a sudden, all you could hear is like screeching tyres, like, oh my god, what's going on? So everybody ran outside the front of the hotel to see what was happening, and there's this car screeching round the roundabout, like sort of wheels half like banked up the roundabout because it went up to like a flower bed type thing. And the next minute, loses control, bang, straight up the curb. Out gets Gaz Johnson. Sees everybody still looking at him. He's like, come on, give us an hand, get this car off here, because it's mounted on the curb.
Beached it.
So we're all there bouncing on the bonnet to try and get this car off the curb. Obviously, the old Guardia Civils like start coming down the road. Everyone's like, see ya!
Scatter!
Run off back to the hotel. And I think, to be fair, I think Gaz he didn't get locked up, but he got obviously down to the station and went through all the procedures and all the rest of it. Probably a massive fine and all that. And,
Probably.
Mark Oldbeach he was passenger, and he ended up smacking his head on the window screen, full on smashed the window screen and everything, like bust him up big time. And we seen them both at the airport the next day, and was just like absolutely laughing our heads off. Like, what the hell was you thinking, Gaz? Oh, well, you know what Gaz is like.
You only live once, don't you?
Yeah, he loves it.
Road racers.
Absolutely.
They have a different idea, don't they?
Yeah, they are a bit of a different breed, yeah.
They are, exactly that. Joe, thank you, mate. Thanks for inviting us in. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Wish you all the best for the rest of the season. If we get a chance, let's do it towards the end of the season. If not, at the last round, see how the boys have got on. Just do it as a bit of a catch-up.
Yeah, no, definitely, Dave. Yeah, it's been mega. Thank you very much. I'll just obviously, while we're on, just get a bit of a plug in for the sponsors.
Do it.
Obviously, the people that help us be here. EBC Brakes, R&G Crash Protection, Kawasaki for the bike, Honda for helping us with the big bike, MSS Performance, Sinto Lubricants obviously supplies all our oils and bits and pieces that keep us going, NGK Spark Plugs, DLR Transport, Link Engineering. I've actually got a mate who's a window cleaner who even helps a little bit.
Wonderful.
Steve, he's a cracking bloke, loves it. Anybody else, if I've forgotten them, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt. That's a nice. You know what? I think of all the time I've been doing the podcast, you're the only one to do that. Thank you, mate. That's a lovely touch. Joe, thank you, mate. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, mate.
Yeah.
Harrison, lovely to meet you.
Thank you very
First
much.
time on the podcast. Welcome along. It won't be the last time.
I'm sure
Wish you all the very best for the races, your second race tomorrow.
Thank you.
Continue the best with that. Best of luck for you tomorrow, mate.
Thank you very
and
much.
for the rest of the season. Let's catch up later on in the year.
Okay.
Nice one.
Thanks, fellas.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, Dave.